Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all around the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have another amazing guest. I have the CEO and chair of DeFi Dev Corp. His name is Joseph Onorati. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome being here.
It's awesome having you here. Thank you for joining me. And I'll kick things off and ask you the first question what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
I hope so. So I'm as you mentioned, CEO at DFDV, DeFi Development Corp, first Solana treasury company listed on NASDAQ, first non-Bitcoin treasury company. And so that out of the way on the background piece. I've been working in the crypto space since 2013. I joined CaVirtEx, first Bitcoin exchange in Canada back then, and then they made me the CEO or interim CEO, and I sold it to Coinsetter, and Coinsetter got acquired by Kraken. And I worked on some other stuff in the middle, but eventually ended up at Kraken and was there for 9 years. Most recently as the chief strategy officer. And I left Kraken it's coming up on a year and a half now that I've been out of Kraken. Before getting into the crypto space, I worked in public policy, think tank kind of stuff. And I studied economics and monetary theory, and I used to write about digital currency, virtual economies, like in computer games back in, I don't know, probably first thing I wrote on that was in 04 or 05. And then I kind of ran into crypto through that stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. So it seems logical. Sounds very logical to me. So
yeah, makes sense to me. It all fit together.
Yeah. So I want to find out, what DeFi Development Corp is all about, including your vision and your mission, and how maybe you're different than like other, digital asset treasury companies.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out this is a pretty popular business to be in right now. I didn't have any idea that it would turn out this way. Like I said, we're the first non-Bitcoin digital asset treasury, and that was only in April that we did the change control transaction to list on NASDAQ. And yeah, I think there's like 200 of them now, if you include the SPACs that are about to come to market. Um, I don't know. I don't remember your question, honestly. I'm sorry about that.
Your vision and your mission and where
Oh
you want to
yeah,
take this company.
yeah. So the vision, I guess, is tied up. Easy to tell story is we have one key metric, and that's SOL per share growth. So we're long term very bullish on Solana. It's why we picked it as the treasury asset for the business. And the intention of the company is to grow SOL per share. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. And basically everything the business does is focused on it. So first, we hold balance sheet assets, SOL, and then we stake that asset, generate yield on the asset, which grows SOL per share. We run our own validators, and we participate in the Solana DeFi ecosystem to enhance the yield on that SOL to additionally grow SOL per share. And then on the financial engineering side, which kind of MicroStrategy made famous, right, where it's Bitcoin yield, they yielded like 70% Bitcoin per share growth last year. And so we kind of followed in their footsteps in some ways, and we think we will, I don't know, it's like MicroStrategy plus kind of strategy longer term. But basically, if the company trades at a premium to its net asset value, when you hear about this, if you go look at like basically anything on MicroStrategy, it's all about MNAV. If we trade at a premium, then when we fundraise, it's accretive to shareholders on a SOL per share basis. And even if we trade at a discount to MNAV, then a buyback of the stock would be accretive on a SOL per share basis. And we've have it on the website. It's how everybody is incentivized at the company. Its number one focus of the business is to grow SOL per share.
Got it. There are, that makes sense to me. Um, I want to know how, like, recently you see the price of Bitcoin drop. I mean, it's going to go up and down, but it's gone down dramatically, and so has the price of Solana. How does that impact your long-term outlook? Some people keep saying that if Bitcoin goes down then enough, it'll liquidate MicroStrategy. But like, I don't know if I buy into that theory. So how do you see, how you're situated during market fluctuations, and how are you, uh, you know, um, solidifying your risk, or diversifying your risk during periods like this?
Yeah, well, we're not diversifying. That's kind of the key feature of the business. It's full on leverage SOL exposure. That's what the company is supposed to kind of embody through its stock, and that's what we think our investors want. If you're buying DFDV, you're probably long-term bullish on SOL, and so the short-term price action it changes kind of what's available to us as as far as options go. Like it's probably harder to raise money from institutional investors when the prices are down, say. Um, kind of everybody wants to buy at the top. That's how life is. Um, but it does, I mean, otherwise it's the same as it was before, right? Just grow SOL per share through the bear market, through the bull market. Doesn't really change much about how we behave. Now, you asked about leverage and or like risk management. So, uh, of course, I've worked in the space for a long time. I've worked at exchanges for a long time in the space, and exchanges are super exposed to volatility, right? In the bear market, there's no trading volume. They don't make any revenue, or very little revenue, and it's tough to run a crypto business through a bear market. So the whole team at DFDV that's working on the treasury has been through multiple market cycles, and I think the solution to kind of surviving a bear market, or even I don't know, I guess survive is probably the right way of putting it, is planning. So don't get over your skis in the bull market and then go into the bear and you're not prepared. And I think basically any business that says, okay, we're actually going to go through cycles and that's how this industry is, then they'll perform acceptably. They'll survive the bear. And specifically for MicroStrategy and also for us, and you can go look at it in other companies' filings or probably ask ChatGPT about it, is how the company's debt is structured really matters for what's going to happen to it in a bear market. So we see some of the deals that have come to market for DATs have secured debt and shorter duration. And then in some other cases, like in MicroStrategy's cases and in DFDV's case, we have a convertible debt offering that's very similar to MicroStrategy's. And these are very long duration instruments and they're not secured. So, uh, like ours that we raised a few months ago expires in 2030. So basically, if I don't know, Solana is higher than it is now in 2030, we're probably good. Same perspective for MicroStrategy. I think the earliest expiry they have on a convert is 2028, and I think those converts are in the money, even now. And I mean, yeah, the price is down from the all-time high, but I don't know, Bitcoin's over 90,000 is it's pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective. Now, Bitcoin's easy to like. It's a currency, right? You're not going to do much else. You're not going to do much else with Bitcoin other than hold it as a currency. Solana, on the other hand, I get confused here because Solana is prices down. You can say it's a bear market. I think part of it is because the people who were talking up Solana a couple of years ago are now talking up Zcash and the price went up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because the meme coins are gone, right? So, or it's down, right? So, what is your outlook on the utility of Solana for the long term, regardless of price? And how do you see, your investments into the Solana ecosystem playing out as areas for potential growth?
Yeah, I'm super bullish on Solana, man. I mean, that's why we why we picked it as our treasury asset. And Parker Boyd, our COO and Chief Investment Officer, kind of um, worked on this company with me together to start with the first couple days before we brought anybody else in. Um, and I mean, we just knew we had to work on Solana. He'd been running validators for around 2 years by then, and we'd been participating in Solana DeFi since mid 21. And I don't know, I love the user experience, appreciate the community, and um, I think Solana's winning. Like as far as layer one blockchains go, if you look at our Twitter, DeFi Dev Corp's Twitter, we're basically like just posting facts about Solana. It's like this metric or that metric, and it looks like to me, Solana's I mean, the winning blockchain. It's got more developers, more developer growth, or more developer activity, more developer growth, uh, more users, more wallets created, more transaction volume, more revenue than whatever we want to compare it to, layer ones or other applications, and or even all the layer twos combined on ETH in many of those cases. So yeah, price is, I don't know, temporarily down from what it was. It's my take. I don't think we're in a bear market. Um, I'll talk about a bear market, but I don't think we're actually in one. And then I don't know, it looks like to me there's a big opportunity for Solana price movement relative to Ethereum. I mean, I think Solana's winning and the market cap doesn't reflect it yet.
Yeah. A lot of people think we're in a bear market. I think we're in a crab market. What do you like? Why do you think we're still in the bull?
Well, I don't know, there's a bunch of people who are probably smarter than me looking at this that have more to say about it, but uh, like it's got to be a perspective thing. Like what was Bitcoin's all-time high? Like we got up to 125. We're only at 92. I mean, this isn't a big drop yet. By percentage against say historic standards. And when we started the treasury strategy, transitioned to it back in April, I think our first Solana buys were right at $100 and Sol's at 130. I don't know, zoom out a little bit. What is this, 6 or 7 months later? And yeah, price is volatile, but it's actually good for our business. If we can monetize the volatility, we can drive Sol per share growth. And I don't know, maybe I'll get out into stuff that I know even less about. I'm really bullish on kind of the future in general. Maybe I'm like ultra optimistic, but um, I think say, spending on AI that kind of everybody's talking about, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there's still massive improvements that are being made kind of week to week. And even with the technology that's been developed today, there can be, uh, I don't know, probably hundreds of successful businesses built as just applications of that technology that haven't caught up yet. And then I'm also really bullish on robots, which I think are, just around the corner. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be really optimistic about a technology-driven growth. Um, and I don't know, we have a kind of a macro call once a week at DFDV with the team, and I'm like one of the most bullish people on the team. And maybe I'm wrong, but feel pretty good about it.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't. I don't know if you're right, but I know this. If the chain just has fundamentals and it's trying to reach out and saying their fundamentals are the best, it's not going to be so as successful as like you have a company like a digital asset trust, scaling it. So why can digital asset trust succeed in scaling crypto and it's scaling Solana? Where those fundamentals were just good news about fundamentals will keep continuous to fall short.
Um, yeah, the DAT's just well, I guess there's a couple of things going on here. So for DFDV, we're deploying the at least some of the assets on chain. I think in our most recent official update, we went to 15%, but we'll plan to scale up from there. And so I've heard over and over, when are the institutions coming? What's going to bring institutions into crypto? How are institutions going to participate in crypto? Well, I realized not very long ago that we are the institution and we're here. And we are participating, and we're participating in the same way that everybody else participates. So we are running a stake looping strategy on Camino. We have a Drift Vault that runs a basis trade. Like we're just yield farming essentially with our treasury, and that brings additional liquidity into Solana DeFi, and it uh, hopefully drives down the cost of capital for users kind of on the other side of that market and facilitates mass adoption of an actually decentralized financial system. And I think for the other DATs, they're too early. So like I said, we were first, and the others just haven't caught up yet. I mean, it's not it's not the easiest thing in the world to be a public company. You have to go through your filings. You have to make sure your auditor, knows what's up. You have to account for everything you're doing, and this stuff isn't trivial, especially in the crypto space, and for teams who, in many cases, have never done this stuff before. So I think it's just going to take some of these other guys time to kind of find their footing. But I will be very happy to see many more companies, DATs, participate more deeply in their blockchain ecosystems like we are. And I think that that will, in addition to, simple, oh yeah, we bought the token and maybe the price went up, will actually drive adoption, will grow TVL, will change the interest rates in these markets, the funding rates in these markets, and bring meaningful liquidity to DeFi, especially on Solana.
You pose a pretty good. I had to think of it that way. You DDC is an institution. Kraken is definitely an institution. People get saying, when are the institutions come? You're right. It's like, what's their definite? What's the public's definition or misnomer of an institution? And why don't they ever consider crypto institutions as an institution?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't get much more institutional than us now. I even sometimes wear a coat, a blazer.
Nice, yeah, nice. I remember I used to work in finance on Wall Street. I had to wear a suit every single day, and then I went into IT and I didn't have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm going the
So
other way apparently. Yeah.
no, I wear hoodies, sweaters, stuff. So why are the digital asset trust the next frontier of Web3 growth, despite the current conditions showing that they may be failing?
Um, hmm. I don't know if I actually think that they are the next frontier of growth. I guess they're a component of uh, some of the growth. Are they the next frontier? Maybe. Um, and why are they? So I think it's a couple of things. If they are, I'll say if, then the reason is one of them is access. So anybody with a brokerage account can trade a digital asset treasury company stock, right? So there's actually, okay, yeah, the ETFs give the same access. Well, hopefully we give access to leveraged Solana cheaper than you can get access to leverage on Solana anywhere else and in a safer way. Um, and then now about since I brought up ETFs and we're talking about growth frontiers, I'll take the opportunity to say I think digital asset treasuries or public companies that are able to run those strategies are superior vehicles to ETFs. And I think the total addressable market for these vehicles is actually way bigger than what we're seeing right now. So I don't know, probably should look at some data on this, but I'd say over the last 20 years, we've seen enormous growth in ETFs. And it's not just crypto ETFs, many, many ETFs. And I think that's awesome. It's given investors kind of safer access to a broader basket of investments that they might be able to get otherwise. But for particular assets, it doesn't make sense for that asset to be in an ETF. If you're going to trade real estate, then you probably want it to be in a REIT. I think there's also like an oil pipeline uh, mechanism for trading oil or the pipelines related to it. So it's like the vehicle should fit the asset. And I think for crypto assets, where they're not securities, they don't have to be traded inside of like a listed fund, or they don't have to be inside an ETF. And you can have an operating company built around that investment that can drive yield to those assets. Like even if all we were doing was running a validator and staking to our own validator, then that's going to be accretive to investors on a SOL per share basis because we're going to increase the yield that the investors can get from staking. So compare that to just staking in an ETF. Somebody's paying a fee somewhere uh, for for that ability to stake those assets. So I think longer term, uh, treasury vehicles are, it's early for them. Even for MicroStrategy, I think it's early, and I think there could be just massive growth in like market caps of these businesses, and the like total assets allocated to them is probably just a small fraction of what could be allocated to them in the future as they kind of demonstrate how powerful of arrangement the structure is relative to ETFs.
You know, I'm not too involved in some of the some like I'm not too involved at all with the XRP or the Hedera and with the narrative around the ETFs there. I am a little bit more with Litecoin, and Solana.
Uh-huh.
But like there's massive narrative, was at least for a long time. Oh, the SEC keeps denying the ETF. The SEC, like the ETF, is a be all end all, and you're saying it's not. And I agree. I agree with you. I think the be all end all is to own the underlying. But own actually the Solana, own the crypto. But as far as mechanisms, as far as products, you know, um, what's better? What's an improvement over the ETF as far as a product that would be given out to the masses, either institutions or people? Like what's a better mechanism than the ETF?
Oh, debts. Is that what you're asking? I'm saying digital asset treasury companies are fundamentally better vehicles for holding and compounding crypto assets than ETFs.
Okay,
Are you
yeah,
asking about that?
yeah. What products can the digital asset in this digital trusts issued? Like what other products can be issued other than
Oh,
just
I
holding?
see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, the I guess the specific thing that I was saying is superior to the ETF is just holding the common stock of these treasury companies. But uh, one of the things that a DAT can do is issue preferred stock. And we've seen this with MicroStrategy, where MicroStrategy has issued, I think it's four series of preferred, and they're about to do their fifth one. And DFDV is in market now for its first preferred offering. And it's a perpetual convertible preferred offering similar to Strike STRK, MicroStrategy's offering. The ticker for our preferred is going to be CHAD, CHAD, which I'm very pleased with that NASDAQ let us have that one. Um, and I think so when a public company goes to issue a preferred stock, you can basically issue a preferred on anything that the lawyers can write into the contract and that your investment bank can sell or help you sell into the market. So there has to be demand for it, and it has to be able to be written into the contract. And the SEC also can review it and comment on it. I'm sure there's some boundary on how far you can go with these, but I think well within the boundary is representing um, digital assets via preferred offering and representing yield-bearing strategies from DeFi via a preferred offering. I think we're going to see both of these. We'll see Bitcoin denominated preferred. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Solana denominated preferred. We might see um, like lending market of strategy, like a stablecoin yield strategy, passed on to a preferred instrument and then made available to any investor with a brokerage account that can trade US securities. And I think that the digital asset treasury companies will bring these to market. And it's probably going to be like 100 of these out in the next, say, 2 years. And it's just going to create markets for or expand markets for instruments that are hard to access now, where you might have to have your own wallet or anyway, there'll be various challenges to get access to some of these strategies, but we can make it easy with the preferred. And I don't mean just DFDV. I think other digital asset treasury companies will launch them as well.
Awesome. So, man, I could see that. I could absolutely see that being the next. Like, Solana started out as known as Sam's Coin, then it was meme coins, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's going to be preferreds and stablecoin yields.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, sounds good. So, right now we're going through, as you know, crypto is going through a narrative. We always go through narratives, right? And the hot narrative right now is privacy, which is
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't just be a narrative; it's a thing, right? So,
Yeah.
in this area of importance for privacy, uh, does Solana need to reposition itself for the long term, and take on more of a privacy perspective? And what would that look like to you?
Um, yeah, this one's like a little emotional for me. Uh, so I thought um, as a Bitcoin adopter a long time ago, I thought privacy would be built into the chain, and then it sort of felt like a trade-off to me where we traded away the potential for privacy for adoption. And I've always kind of mourned what I thought was that trade-off. Um, and maybe I kind of imagined it, but I think that was pretty legitimate, when we said, okay, well, there's going to be centralized exchanges. We want institutions or, real businesses to use this. Then came the KYC, the anti-money laundering stuff and everything related to it that requires identification, right? So, which uh, is a kind of the opposite of privacy. So that um, I'd say that was tough back then. Now I'm very happy to see this renewed focus on privacy tokens and privacy on chain. Um, and now, do I think Solana needs to like reposition on this? There are some ways to do private transactions on Solana already. Um, I think that it would be tough now to like everything has trade-offs. So if we had to trade off like latency for privacy or decentralization, I guess probably wouldn't have trade off decentralization. Then I'd be leery of it. But I don't know. I'm all for privacy on chain if we can get it, but I think we already made a lot of trade-offs away from privacy to drive adoption in the crypto space, and maybe that was a mistake.
How can we fix that mistake? How can Solana fix that mistake made by others going forward?
Hmm. I don't know if I have an answer on that one. Uh, like I said, I think there's already ways to do private transactions on Solana, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how big this narrative actually is. I mean, I see it on my Twitter feed all the time. Everybody's talking about Zcash. A bunch of the other like ancient privacy coins are pumping, right? I saw Dash come up on CoinGecko. I'm like, geez, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time, right? And I don't know. I think it's important, but I don't know if the best path to it is on some of these other chains, or if it should just be um, like a layer on top of, or update to, say, Solana or Ethereum. But I've been a privacy advocate and fan for a long time, and haven't spent too much time on how to implement on Solana.
Yeah. I think that like the narrative is to cover up the deeper thing. The important thing I think is that, if the cypherpunks recognize that a coin, or like Bitcoin, for example, has been jeopardized in some way, that the cypherpunk movement is going to be more in line with what their vision and the goals are, right? So I want to find out where you see the cipher. I believe it's very much alive, where it's headed for the future, and where if you're moving in accordance and alignment with the cypherpunks vision of the future.
That's very interesting. Why do you, oh, like, I love this stuff, man, I gotta say, but why do you think this is alive? I guess because I feel like we've gone the opposite way. Everybody's talking about institutional adoption. Everybody wants a private chain. Where I kind of keep hearing these narratives, right? Nobody's talking about let's end government and bring about a sound money system, right? Like you don't hear this stuff very often anymore.
I think it's still alive. You don't hear about it, but I think it's still alive,
All
especially in
right.
nations where the governments, are very overreaching.
I
You
want to
know,
be talking to who you're talking to. I'm hanging out with some of the wrong people, I guess.
no, I think you don't mind. But yeah, we can take a look. I see you guys being successful. So, I want to, yeah. So I want to talk. I want to thank you very much for your time today. It was an enjoyable conversation. And I have one last question. It's how can people find out more information about you, about DeFi Development Corp? How can they become customers, clients? How can they do that?
Oh yeah, check out the website, dfdv.com, dfdv.com. We have all of our metrics on the how the company performs relative to Solana, the MNAV, the that I mentioned, the NAV multiples. We have information on all of our debt, all of our SOL purchases, etc. There, you can find a link to our investor presentation, which is updated whenever we update it. We update it on the site and file it publicly. There's a ton of information there. Um, I'd say the website's the best place to go, dfdv.com, to learn more about us. But yeah, I
Awesome.
appreciated being on here. It was a good chat. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time today.